Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a seriously gripping 18th century medical mystery. It's a case that literally proved humanity could train its own immune system. So we aren't just looking at dry, dusty history here. We're diving into the exact moment a meticulously recorded observation completely changed the trajectory of human survival. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so think about this bizarre and honestly super specific question. Can a farm animal's sickness protect you from a deadly plague 25 years later? I know, to our modern ears, surrounded by advanced medicine and vaccines, it kind of sounds like a weird riddle. But we're going to use strict historical records from one singular case study to trace exactly how answering this question led to one of the greatest scientific breakthroughs in human history.
Part 1. The Outbreak of 1770.
To understand how we got here, we've got to go back to the very beginning. Our protagonist in this whole story is a guy named Joseph Merrett. Now, Joseph was an under-gardener working for the Earl of Berkeley way back in 1770. But he didn't just garden or, tend the grounds from a safe distance. He actually lived as a servant directly with a farmer, and he frequently helped out with milking his master's cows. So he was deeply embedded in the daily, hands-on, messy reality of agricultural life. Keep that in mind, because his close physical proximity to these farm animals, that's the engine for literally everything that happens next.
This closeness created a perfectly clear chain of cross-species infection, playing out in 3 distinct steps. Step 1. Several horses on the farm developed these sore heels, and the records show Merrett frequently attended to them. Step 2. Soon after that, the cows on the exact same farm contracted a disease known as cowpox. And finally, Step 3, you guessed it, several sores start appearing directly on Joseph Merrett's own hands. It's this fascinating, perfectly documented domino effect, right? Jumping from the horses to the cows, and boom, right to our gardener.
And look, this wasn't just a tiny, easily ignored skin rash. No. Merrett developed what the clinical notes call swollen axilla, which basically translates to severe swelling and stiffness way up in the armpit area. His physical symptoms were visceral. They were intense. The historical account actually points out that he was completely incapacitated for several days, like totally unable to do his ordinary work. His body was very clearly at war with a real, aggressive foreign invader.
Now, what makes this so incredibly significant for history is that the farm acted as this perfect natural control group with absolutely zero outside contamination. I mean, remember, we're talking about the 18th century here. They didn't exactly have sterile, white-walled laboratories. But this environment, it was incredibly controlled. No fresh cows had been brought onto the farm beforehand, and 0 other servants working there caught cowpox. So Merrett's infection wasn't just some random bug he picked up in town. It was definitively 100% linked to that specific isolated farm environment.
Part 2. The 25-year time jump, April 1795.
So, Merrett survived his miserable bout of cowpox and, eventually just went back to his normal life. But the real, world-changing significance of his illness, that wouldn't actually be tested until a full quarter of a century had passed. Yep, 25 years later, a massive general inoculation event took place right in his area.
During this widespread event in 1795, the author of our medical case study decided to test a pretty bold theory on Joseph, writing, "The variolous matter was repeatedly inserted into his arm." Now, if you're wondering what variolous matter is, that's just the old scientific term for smallpox. The researcher deliberately and repeatedly infected Merrett with smallpox. Think about that for a second. This was an extraordinarily aggressive, frankly terrifying, and potentially deadly test to run on the guy.
Part 3. The Ultimate Immunity Test.
So, the million-dollar question, what actually happened to Merrett after this aggressive, deliberate exposure to a known, ruthless killer? This was it, the ultimate immunity test. Miraculously, he didn't get sick. The author actually noted that infecting him with smallpox proved completely impracticable. Merrett suffered absolutely 0 systemic illness, none. His body violently and immediately fought off the disease right at the puncture site. The only reaction he had was a localized efflorescence, basically just a rash, that took on this red, inflamed look directly around the center of where the smallpox was inserted. It's like his immune system instantly recognized the threat from decades ago and just shut it down at the gates.
This right here brilliantly illustrates just how insanely powerful his immunity really was. You have Joseph Merrett subjected to repeated, direct insertion of smallpox, plus he's in super close proximity to others who were sick, and his health outcome? Completely unharmed, not a scratch. Meanwhile, his own family underwent general inoculation and actually contracted smallpox, with one family member getting it very severely. And get this, throughout this entire ordeal, Merrett stayed in the exact same house with his highly infectious family. He essentially acted as a human shield, constantly exposed to the virus, and yet received zero injury from the contagion. No way, right?
Part 4. Why Rural Science Won.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Any critical thinker would wonder, how did the author know for sure that Merrett hadn't just, secretly caught a mild case of smallpox sometime over those 25 years? Well, the researcher actually anticipated this exact skepticism. They emphasized that establishing real scientific rigor was their absolute top priority. The utmost care was taken to verify everyone's medical history. The author even states that scrupulous precision was applied to the data, which heavily confirmed that Merrett had absolutely never gone through smallpox prior to this bold experiment.
But how on earth could they be so utterly certain? Well, it all comes down to geography and community. Think about it. If these experiments had been conducted in a large city or some crowded, populous neighborhood, the data would naturally be pretty doubtful. People are transient, memories fade, and the risk of inaccuracy goes way, way up. But this took place in a rural area. The population was thin. In a tight-knit community like that, an event like someone catching smallpox, that is massive news. It spreads like wildfire. It's always faithfully recorded and basically universally known by everyone. That absolute accuracy of rural life meant the data was completely indisputable.
The ultimate takeaway here is truly profound when you think about it. The meticulous observation of just a single rural farmhand laid the irrefutable groundwork for modern immunology. By proving that a bout of cowpox in 1770 completely blocked smallpox in 1795, Joseph Merrett essentially proved the concept of long-term immunity. He proved that our bodies have a memory. It's a real game-changer.
It is absolutely incredible to realize that our massive, sophisticated global medical infrastructure relies so heavily on the faithful records of one gardener's 25-year mystery. So I'm going to leave you with this. Next time you roll up your sleeve to receive a modern vaccine, will you think about the 18th century gardener and the cows that made it all possible? Keep asking questions, keep looking for those hidden connections, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.